Hello listeners, this is Sage Tulok. We began last week by addressing some mistakes and rulings we had made, thus putting Samal and the party in a more advantageous position. I moved myself to take a position of flanking through a different door than the rest of the party, while Physics slowly prepared to throw a bomb into the sinkhole. The Mitflits tried to scramble out as bolts and telekinetic projectiles fly, and Samal goes toe-to-toe with the escapees. The heroes search the few parts of the ruins they had discovered thus far, and take a brief rest. Venturing forward, the heroes find more Mitflits and a skeleton guard on a walkway to the stone outbuilding. Two Mitflits attempt to escape across the suspended vine again, as they did before, but were quickly thwarted by Samal cutting the vine. One falls into the shallow water below and flees, while the other is swallowed by a giant frog beast that leaps out of the pond water below. Finding that skeleton guard is nothing more than a makeshift scarecrow, the heroes find a magical +1 morning star. Pressing forward, the heroes enter the outbuilding, only to find a larger, crown-bearing Mitflit with his giant pet spider. He demands to know why they have come, before the execution of his plans.
So, episode 4.
We made it.
Crazy, huh? We made it.
Mama, I made it.
You guys ready for the end of the adventure? It's about to come up. You just stepped into the final boss.
Perfect. Keeping it quick and simple.
Yeah, well, I figure a year and a half planning gets us 4 episodes. That's pretty all right.
Yeah,
That's not so bad.
Most
Could
podcasts don't
be
last
worse.
this long anyways, you know?
That's true.
So I was, Jess and I have been watching that What If show on Disney Plus. I don't know if you guys have checked that out at all, but we've been talking about it a little bit outside of that, and I got into kind of a rant the other day on Spider-Man in particular, and the Glass Cannon did a great joint on it. But thinking back on it, I'm realizing that throughout my history and throughout my childhood, my favorite Spider-Man isn't Peter Parker. It's actually, well, it's not. But I mean, if we were going to go with the main timeline, it would actually be Ben Reilly, because all the cool stuff that happened to Spider-Man happened when he was a clone.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you guys had like a favorite incarnation or a favorite version of Spider-Man. Like I really liked the show from the late '80s, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah, so the Spider-Man 90s show was my jam when I was a kid. The one that was like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
radioactive Spider-Man. I loved that show. And the whole arc with the Sinister Six and Kingpin, and they even dove into some Scarlet Spider stuff and Madam Web, and I don't remember much of it in detail, to be honest, but I loved it. I was obsessed with it. Spider-Man was my jam for so long, and that was the version that made me fall in love with him. So I'm with you. I think Scarlet Spider, that's Ben Reilly, right? I'm getting that right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that happened as the Scarlet Spider was actually Peter Parker, but
Right.
they've kind of retconned it, so it was all Ben Reilly.
Right. So because from what I recall, at least from that show, was that Scarlet Spider was convinced he was the clone the whole time, and then changed his name, dyed his hair, and then Carnage, the Carnage symbiote, took over. the quote unquote Peter Parker and became Spider Carnage, and then it was like shortly after or during that arc or something like that Ben Reilly realized, oh, I'm actually the Peter Parker and he's the clone. And meanwhile, like Spider Carnage is calling him clone and like disparaging him and stuff the whole time. I remember that's like fairly well and loving it, absolutely loving it. So I think I love that arc and everything. So I'm with you on the Ben Reilly arc and stuff like that. I love that character, really cool.
The best part about that show from the 90s, if you look back at it now, is like they were trying really hard not to be violent with it. So you have a lot of laser guns and a lot of Spider-Man just hugging somebody until he can like put them into a web and get them arrested.
I love that laser guns are supposed to be less violent.
Yeah. Oh, they just bounce
like
off.
Totally
no
out
deal.
of place.
There were some regulations in the late 80s to the early 2000s where you couldn't show gunfire in a family.
That makes sense.
TV show. That's why G.I. Joe and Transformers. That's why it's all lasers.
Yeah, that's so funny. Little loophole action.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nerds. I don't think I know anything about Spider-Man. I did watch the show in the 90s, but I remember little to nothing of it. And I think I had one Spider-Man comic that the whole premise was he was trying to catch drug dealers at the local youth hockey rink. And they were smuggling drugs inside of like hockey pucks that would unscrew.
I specifically remember there being stacks of the same comic book in my school library where Spider-Man taught you how to like do your turn signals on your bicycle and like to avoid train tracks and shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's my whole Spider-Man thing. And then I guess that didn't work either. So
yeah. No wonder you're the odd man out here, Scott. You're such a...
Fair enough.
Yeah, I got to go for an unconventional one because I'm not a super big Spider-Man like fan. I haven't like read or seen much Spider-Man stuff, but there's a short lived comic called The Superior Spider-Man where Otto Octavius takes over the body of Peter Parker. I think that's my favorite Spider-Man. Just an evil, twisted, like Machiavellian Spider-Man.
And he succeeds at everything Peter Parker tries to do. He builds a multi-million-dollar business with government contracts. Spider-Man becomes beloved by the people.
I think, James, I think you were telling you about this not that long ago. Actually, that rings a bell. Yeah,
yeah. There's a thing from Encounter This that's coming out on our Patreon about it.
And the Green Goblin only finds out, or he knows that Spider-Man's back to the original Peter Parker when Peter Parker starts like making fun of him while they're fighting.
But yeah, it just becomes a total bitch all over again.
That's awesome.
That's fair. I really like the 90s cartoon. I thought it was really good. I remember this one specific run, and to both of your points, they brought in the Punisher. Do you guys remember that? It was like it was Spider-Man and the X-Men was the first part of the crossover, and then the second part of the crossover was Spider-Man and the Punisher and Blade. And I think Morbius even joined the
Blade,
cast at that point.
Because I was about to say, I'm pretty sure Morbius was in that mix. I forgot Blade was there. Yeah, but I remember all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I see a giant spider like this King Mitflitz, all I can think of is that particular crossover where Spider-Man turns into a giant spider.
Okay. Yeah, he was called Man Spider, I believe.
Yeah, Man Spider. Yeah, it was Spider-Man, then Six-Armed Spider-Man, where he had the 6 arms blow
Yeah,
out.
he had the 6 arms, and then he would go to Man Spider.
That's when they discovered that he's actually a mutant, and then he becomes Man Spider. Yeah.
Yeah. So gnarly. Well, speaking of the 90s show and strange collaborators such as Blade, Punisher, and Spider-Man, and or the Sinister Six, we have yet another collaboration for you. This is a terrible segue.
Here it comes. Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to fall on your face. Please go on.
I'm very, very proud to introduce to you my terrible segue. No, we have another scene here, and this time we're going to cover Physic, something that Duncan and I worked together on. A quiet street in Otari sees a promising ray of sun cut through the morning fog, only for it to land on an unfortunate rat in the street, struggling to breathe. quick inspection shows the local alley cat, probably living in the nearby ruins of the now destroyed tavern, once known as the Thirsty Alpaca, may well have found the pest the night previous and had its fun toying with its prey, and left it for dead. And by all accounts, it's not far off that mark. However, around the alleyway corner, alongside the creeping sun, comes a waddling, squat green goblin. Dressed in an assortment of knickknacks and bric-a-brac of what could generously be called found treasure. The goblin's clumsy demeanor is evident, but somewhat betrayed by his sharp eyes, which immediately widen at the sight of the small rodent in distress. He considers the situation for a moment, hesitates to think of what he has on hand. There isn't much to be gained by helping this creature. Nothing, in fact. And his coin purse is noticeably light on his hip after his visit to Magilloy. Crow's Casks always has the strange ingredients he needs, but the prices are getting heavier ever since new business ventures have been popping up in the area. With a knowing need to be sparing with the medicinal ingredients that have offset the weight of his coin purse, the goblin finds himself unable to resist. He reaches into his satchel, withdrawing a dingy flask. From a side pocket, he grabs an even dingier spoon and leans towards the rat.
We'll be okay, little buddy.
He says as he unstops the flask and fills the spoon with a bright green syrup.
We'll be okay.
Adding a little dusting of who knows what to the spoonful, the rat suddenly hisses, and the goblin jumps, nearly losing his grip on the spoon. Steadying his nerves, he leans forward again. The rat does its best to hiss a second time as the goblin thrusts the viscous fluid into the rat's mouth and then nearly leaps backwards. The rat goes quiet. Takes a faltering lurch forward, to which the goblin takes another step back, and then its labored breathing becomes more regular. Its eyes calm from distress to light confusion. The goblin gives a quick smile to himself, puts the stopper back in the flask, and licks the spoon clean. The rat hisses a third time, and nearly choking on the spoon, the goblin hightails it in a giddy fit. At least it worked. After a quick jaunt down Wisp Street, the goblin finds himself wandering towards the south of Otari. He considers heading for the Rowdy Rockfish for a nice quiet morning drink to calm his nerves. Listening to Brelda Venkervale's troubles always made his own seem more mundane. And that's when he remembers his own financial troubles. And Brelda's own are not likely to put a drink on the house anytime soon. Instead, with a deep sigh, he points himself towards the Crook's Nook. A less than reputable watering hole, but Yin Yasmira's always done her part for the community at large, even if she does so via dubious means and enterprises. But there is often a bit of aftermath in these enterprises that regularly need the goblin's expertise. A fight that needs cleaning up, or a thief in need of a healer with discretion. Odds were good that there was blood spilt by someone in the night that he can handle, even if he shudders at the thought of what leads to such violent ends. With Otari waking up around him, his thoughts wander to what trinkets he might be able to afford from the curiosity shop on the other side of town. Probably nothing special, but he likes to visit Rin anyway, and it wouldn't go without buying a little something. As he passes the Inkelholtz Manor, he briefly spots a purpley glow just over the ridge behind the building. Catching it out of the corner of his eye, it flashes and writhes beyond a small copse of trees. He shuts his eyes for a second and reopens them, still looking from the edges of his vision. A wolf, wreathed in purple. But not just any wolf, there's something goblin about it. He squeezes his eyes shut for a moment, readies himself and turns towards the site. Opens. Nothing. No wolf, no purple glow. he momentarily wonders if he should be stocking up on more supplies. An argument can be heard from the outside of the Crook's Nook as he approaches the door, and cracking it open, he is met with a typical unsavory scene. The bartender calls out, "Oh, physic guarded by the gods themselves, you just in time!" Physic lets out another heavy sigh as he leaves the bright sunny street and enters the tavern. Maybe he'll be able to afford something nice at Rin's shop after all. And that brings us to the scene at hand.
Little Physic, eh?
Little Physic. Little troublemaker.
I want to know what he's
But
about.
not really.
Oh, it's going to be funny putting so much like backstory into something that's just going to get like offed by this spider in 5 minutes.
Well, we're all about to die, so a good thing we all have 2 backup characters.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for sure is that this room definitely this room definitely looks dangerous. But just a quick recap beyond the recap of this room. You've opened the door to see a mitflit trying to clean one side, a larger mitflit poking and prodding at this pile of sand, this flattened out pile of sand with stones and sticks in it. And that mitflit spots you and says the words, "Knew it was only a matter of time, but surprised to see you so soon. How'd you find before execution of plans?" Before gesturing and dropping some food for its what appears to be pet giant spider to come closer and really show the power and intimidation of this creature. And it asks you this question and just stands there waiting for a response. What do you do?
Sage is looking across the room, taking in the situation, and is horrified. He has never seen any creatures like this. The mitflit up until now is the craziest thing he's ever seen. And looking at this large spider, he is freaked out. But they're being asked a question, so he's going to try to answer. And with kind of a trembling voice, he says, "My lord, we've come here in peace. We merely only need to find out what's happening here with the lights in the light tower. We don't need to encroach on your land or your kingdom. Perhaps we can come to some sort of conclusion before we fight." And I'd like to roll a diplomacy check.
Okay. And what's the activity you're working with this?
Coerce, probably.
Yeah.
Coerce. Okay.
Oh, terrible roll. That's only going to be a 12, so...
I just gotta double check. I think it's a versus the whole perception DC. It's essentially a sort of sense motive here. And he gives you a sort of wry look, squinting his eyes a little more. And he says, "You not come to stop? You not come to bring down boss?"
And, sorry, that I was doing make an impression, not coerce, because I was rolling
sure.
diplomacy.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Still, same response.
Yep.
As soon as he says they have a boss, Tulek, you can see, or maybe feel, because you've been in his presence for a while at this point, Samal just tenses up, and he immediately starts to white-knuckle the axe, getting ready to spring into action. But he's waiting to see what you do.
Physic just shaking in his boots in the back.
Oh, yeah, trying to make himself as unseen as possible without having the wherewithal to actually avoid notice.
Yeah. Love it.
You mentioned a boss. Is it the boss of you, or are you the boss here?
He pounds his chest. "Boss Skron. Strongest of mudlickers."
Ah, Boss Skron. I can see you are mighty, And he's a little emboldened by having this conversation. He's kind of shaking his nerves a little bit.
Here's the picture of what he looks like.
Actually, he's pretty rad looking.
And of course, this is the huge spider.
Is that a Brazilian walking spider variant that I'm unaware of?
It's actually a camel spider
Okay.
equivalent. Yeah.
Except actually the size of a camel.
Pretty much.
Horrifying.
It's terrifying.
What plans do you have here? Are you simply trying to live? Or do you have ulterior motives?
He steps forward and closer to the sand and then takes his trident and just sweeps across it, knocking all the stones and sticks away and just totally destroying whatever was laid out in it. Just, what plan? There's no plan. Mudlickers are peaceful people.
Sage Tulok takes one step forward and raises his hands and will cast Daze upon.
Oh, he's engaging. Okay, here we go. So the moment you step forward, we roll for initiative, and then you have to prep days here because again, no surprise rounds, as we discussed last session. And you could kind of do that like we did before, but if no one noticed you, but everyone sees you.
Oh,
so.
come on, man. He just thinks I'm stepping
nope.
forward in peace. In peace!
In peace? Yeah, okay, if you want to step forward in peace,
Yeah.
you have to, instead of casting days, roll me another check to make sure it seems like peace.
All right.
Or rather, we'll do it this way. He's going to roll a sense motive on your entering the room.
How about this? I won't enter.
This is against your...
I will not enter the room, and I will cast from where I'm standing. Does that meet
No.
your... Okay.
It's the casting part, not the stepping into the
Absolute-
room that he's having
yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. All right.
Where unless you're unnoticed, you can't just cast willy-nilly. I mean, you can. I don't know. It's a gray area, but you stepped in the room. Hand off the chess piece. You
Okay.
stepped in.
Stepped
And
into
here's
the
what I'm
room.
going to do. He's going to roll a perception against your deception DC. Okay. Sensing motive. 20.
And okay, what is a sorry, you don't want me to roll it? It's
No, it's against your deception DC. You're the one walking in trying to pretend you're not about to cast. So what's your deception DC? 10 plus your deception modifier.
13. Oh wait, no.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, 17. My bad.
Okay.
Still
He
fail.
reads the shit out of it. He knows you're coming in to attack. So we're going to roll initiative.
Coming in hot. All right.
Now, can I roll with deception as my initiative then?
No, because you did not use deception in a particular circumstance. I used that against your deception DC.
What about Arcana?
Or my diplomacy that I was just doing?
We moved past the diplomacy already, so I don't think it's applicable. Arcana is a gray area. Detect magic, because we discussed this off mic before too. Does detect magic count as something that you can put towards your initiative? But because it does not use a particular skill check, the answer is no. Unless someone finds something else to correct me on that, because detect magic can cover nature, occultism, as well as religion, and Arcana. So I'm not just going to give you your favorite of the four. It's just going to be straight
I just
initiative.
figured because what he's casting is from the arcane spell list.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Good call. But
because he's going into the combat casting an arcane spell or an arcane cantrip, so I figured maybe he'd get to use that.
is it only on the arcane spell list?
No,
It's on. Is it on every spell?
Occult as well.
Occult as well.
and religion, so probably yeah.
Yeah. So I stick with my original ruling. Regular initiatives here, guys.
Works for
And
me.
if you die, it's all Scott's fault. Physic,
Probably
what do you got?
giant spiders.
Okay. I also, because we're between episodes, I should probably mention I ended the last combat having just drawn and reloaded my crossbow, and I don't think he would have put it down because he was not feeling good about the situation from the get-go.
Okay. So you're cheating too. Okay, good to know. Yeah.
I-
Okay. Logging that in.
Excuse me, sir. I am a surgeon.
You just chirurgeon. Roll initiative, goddammit.
That's a 20.
Okay. Samal?
18. Not doing great on these initiative rolls.
That's better than the most, though. Sage Trulock?
14.
All right.
Well, this really bones up my whole reason for doing what I did. I gotta say, order of operations here, not a fan.
You got surprise attack stuck in your head. 2e flips those over on its that classic tradition on its head.
But I mean, isn't there a difference between surprise attack and then just literally like it's not a surprise, but like you're just acting first? You know what I mean? Like you
surprise attacks roll in with things like we did with the sinkhole. They wasted their turns not noticing you. Right? You don't just get to go a full round where they don't get to go because you surprise them. It's not. It's effectively the same, but it's more detailed in its breakdown.
I don't like it, but I'll go with it.
And if you look at the rules I did post the other day about doing stealth combined with initiative, there are a lot of rules surrounding it, and it's such that if you decide to avoid notice, but don't want to roll your stealth check. For your initiative, you prefer your perception. Will you negate the fact that you're no longer noticed if you make that decision? So it's falling into those sorts of rules. And what you just did was step into a room of creatures that are potentially hostile.
True.
It's if they're not going to read that as an action or try to read that as an action of hostility of some kind, we have to play that first.
Got it.
Which we did, and that's where we're at.
Okay.
Bite. is the name of this spider. And Boss Skron calls out to Bite in Undercommon, says, Daka Daka, Daka Daka, and gives it a pat on the head. And that translates to stay.
I wonder why they call
Physic,
it Bite.
I wonder, yeah. Who knows?
Well, now I'm confused. I thought that thing was going to come running at us and biting.
He's gonna cast a spell on us because we're all so tight. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and nothing's happened yet, so you actually still don't quite know if they're going to be hostile. Technically, all that banter we just had, you still don't quite know because Sage Trulock is not cast yet, unless you yourself want to roll a perception check against his deception DC to see if you think he's going to do something.
Yes, I will try to sense his motive right now. That's a 24. Natural 20.
For a fact. Yeah. Oh, it's a natural 20. Oh, I'm sick. Yeah, you know for a fact he's about to cast something. What do you do?
Yell that out to the two next to us. My compatriots here.
Guys, something bad's about to happen.
Sorry. You know Sage Trulock is about to cast something. Not. You're sorry. That roll was to read Sage's same way the Boss Skron did.
Oh, I was trying to read Boss Skron.
Yeah. Okay. I'll roll it over. You also know that Boss Skron is like readying himself for combat, but he still hasn't acted yet.
Okay.
You know he's like ready. He has taken Sage Trulock's step in as an act of hostility.
Okay.
You know that.
That's all I need then. So I guess that's nip that in the bud, step in the room, and fire a crossbow at Skron.
Okay. He's going for it.
For a 17 to hit.
17 hits.
That will be 6 points of damage.
Oh, that's a big hit.
And so that's a sense motive, a stride, and a shot. That'll be a turn.
Okay. Boss Skron takes a step back onto his throne and climbs atop it and pulls out a little blowgun and is going to fire it off at you, Physic.
Yeah, I probably earned that. Yeah.
It's a 13 to hit.
That will not.
Nice.
And you will attempt another attack with that for 24 to hit.
That hits.
Wait, so you moved,
Okay.
pulled a weapon, and then attacked and attacked?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. See, even I forget the whole pull a move thing, pull a weapon thing as a cost an action. So yeah, just the one attack.
Cheating again, Baron.
Oh man, I am the tits. I mean the pits. Samal, what do you got?
Samal, first action is
Don't
going to
cut that.
stride up to this big spider, seeing boss Skron take a hostile action.
SKRAWNG for anyone listening.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Second
And
action,
that's
he's
the
gonna use-
least of this adventure for names, I promise you.
Okay, sweet. Second action, he's going to raise his shield. And third action will be combat reflexes. Or sorry, combat assessment. Which is I make a melee strike, and then if I hit, I get a free recall knowledge.
Sick.
That is a 23 to hit this giant spider.
Ooh. That hits, yeah.
Is it a crit?
It is not.
Okay. So I get a free recall knowledge on the spider.
Indeed you do. And I will roll that real quick. And you certainly have never seen anything like it before. What seems to stand out to you is that it doesn't look like any kind of spider you've seen, especially in a swamp. So it seems out of place, like it's probably not indigenous to this area. But that's all you can pick up.
And it gets hit for 6 slashing damage. As he moves up, holds up his shield, and then just strikes out from behind it.
Okay. Tulok.
All right, so Tulok steps into the room, and then all this unfolds in front of him. And he looks at the boss across the room, waves his hand, and mutters some words. And will cast Daze upon him.
Oh, now you're going to do it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Couldn't do it at the beginning of the combat, could you? Jeez.
I could not, because Rule of Cool is dead. All right, so will save, please.
Will save.
Yes, sir.
From Boss Skron. Has an 18 sort you out.
18 sucks, so yeah, that does nothing.
Does anything? Oh, unaffected?
Unaffected, yep.
Can't just take down the boss like that. He's a smart guy.
I know, it's smarter than I thought.
He knows what's up.
Okay, I'm just going to stride then towards the east to this area here.
Okay.
And that'll be my turn.
All right. And Boss Skron screams out another command, this time to the Mitflit to start attacking, and it peels forward towards Physic, pulls out a weapon, and strikes with its short sword for a 16 to hit.
That will not hit.
Oh, it's a miss. We go to the top of the order, and Bite can't resist itself now, even though it was told to stay. I mean, I guess it did stay, but it's going to start attacking. And it is going to do so with its claw for a 22 to hit.
22 hits.
9 slashing damage. Max
I will
damage.
use my shield block.
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably
both
for the best.
shield and I are going to take 4 damage.
Okay. And it strikes a second time. Natural 20
Oh my god.
for a 24 to hit.
Swall's going down.
Yeah, that hits.
6 damage.
Okay.
And here's the part you're really going to hate.
Oh,
Okay.
This is the first time we're going to cover 2E's version of Rend.
oh my god.
Requirements. Claw attack. And the monster hit the same enemy with 2 consecutive strikes of the listed type in the same round. The monster automatically deals that strike's damage again.
Okay.
So you take an additional 8 damage.
All right. Samal is unconscious and dying.
No. Couldn't have tried your hand at diplomacy, could you? Oh, wait, you did.
Do I use heroic recovery on my turn?
The moment you gain the dying condition is when you can do it.
Okay.
So you can do it right now if you like.
I'm going to do it right now. Blow both my hero points.
So you were unconscious, but you were not dying. Physic, you're up. Samal just went down hard. Slash, Rend.
Yikes. Well, Physic is just kind of panic. He will stride quite quickly 10 feet east, and then use his last 2 his last 2 actions to administer his last elixir of life to Samal.
Roll up that heal.
For 6 HP back.
Max healing.
Finally.
Okay.
And that'll be my turn.
Oh, the question is, does that wake him up? I think it does.
Holy fuck. We need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So if you're unconscious because you're dying, you can't wake up. If you're restored to 1 hit point or more via healing, you lose the dying and unconscious conditions and can act normally on your next turn.
Perfect. Thank you. So you are no longer unconscious, but you just laid out on the floor like, fuck, what the shit just happened? And that brings us to boss Skron, who continues to sort of like scream in Undercommon and is going to shoot his blowgun again at Physic. Natural 20.
Love it.
You're lucky though because you only take 2 piercing, but you're unlucky because I need a fortitude save.
Woo! Okay. It's a 15 for the fortitude save.
That is a meat to beat.
Whew.
And boss Skron will spend his turn fiddling with his blowgun. Samal.
First action while laying is he's going to stand up. He doesn't have a choice.
Okay.
Does he take an attack?
He does not.
Okay. Second action, he's going to raise his shield because he absolutely fucking needs the bonus to the AC apparently, even though it seems to make no difference.
Samal, we should run.
I'll be right behind you. And then he is going to take a strike with his boarding axe.
Okay.
That is a 17 to hit.
That hits.
9 points of slashing damage.
Oh, big hit. Nice. Very nice. You've already done some significant damage to this creature. You can tell. You just like kind of broken through its very light chitinous carapace, and you probably even chopped off a chunk of one of its legs. Tulok.
Tulok is having some serious reservations about staying in this room, but seeing the hit that Samal just put on the spider, he decides to at least try his hand before he leaves. So, reaching out to a large stone in the corner, he sends it flying at Bite.
Okay. You and your large stones. Are you overcompensating?
Always. 22 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
10 points of Dimaggio max damage, baby. Let's go.
Nice.
How do you kill the giant Solifigud?
He just sends this fucking rock flying with purple magic right into its face and just splatters all the eyes into different directions.
And Tulok just screams, and his throne just starts shaking. And he's like, even not even Undercommon, he's not speaking any sense. He's just like furious with you.
Excuse me, that's Skron, not Tulok.
Yeah.
It can be two people.
And also, can we just make for the record that the line when it goes at to bite is bite this.
Oh God.
More like night.
Yeah!
Just slowly turning this into a bad 80s action movie. Let's do it.
And that's your turn, Tulok? Anything else?
All right, well, he was going to run, but now he's not going to. He
got
is
any
just
healing,
going.
I'm here for it.
What's that? Do you have
So if
healing?
you got any healing, I'm here for it.
I have nothing for you. He's just going to continue moving about the room, I guess. Just stride a little bit through this drain. That's it.
Okay. Mitflit, the tiny little Mitflit who's doing his best, is going to cast a spell. It is going to create this little aura right on top of Samal. It's a 5-foot emanation in which Samal, you start to experience... Oh, actually, sorry, I need you to make a will save. Same with Physic, actually.
Guys, I don't want to metagame too much, but I fucking hate Mitflits.
What are you talking about? They're the shit.
They literally tried to make us eat shit. Like
Shit flits.
Troublemakers.
a will save, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus. 12.
That's my worst one with an 11.
Yeah, you both fail. And you both have been affected by the Bane spell. Effectively giving you a -1 status penalty to attack rolls. As long as you're in the area.
I'm fine with that.
And then it throws a dart at Physic. With a 16.
That will miss.
Okay. And that brings us to the top of the order. Bite is dead. Physic, you're up.
Well, this is a fun place to be, isn't it? Baned up and no healing items left on me.
Pull out that +1 mace and smash this thing's skull in.
I've got it.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a step. I'm gonna reload my crossbow and I'm gonna unload it at the Mitflit.
Okay, you step out of the area and the Bane falls off.
Yep. I
Go
got no
for it.
time for stupid little Mitflick spells.
Got him.
That's an 18 to hit
That hits.
for 6 damage.
Okay. That's you.
That's me.
Okay. Boss Skron, stomping around on his throne and having a hissy fit. The throne actually collapses beneath him and he falls over prone. And he's like, "Ah, Rakatatu!" And so he spends an action having to get up. And then he spends another action just spitting and swearing and screaming. And then he turns to Samal and shoots his blowgun. 17 to hit.
Ping! Right off the shield.
Oh, you think you're so cool. All right, and Samal, you're back up.
Samal gets rended, falls down dead, has a potion poured down his throat, kips up, smacks the spider in the throat, spits blood, strides over his Zen garden, right up to the boss, and then takes his first strike with the boarding axe outside of the Bane.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Which is a 28 to hit. Now we're talking. That's a
man.
19 on the die.
That's a crit.
Excellent.
Oh, man.
That is 14 points of slashing damage as he just casually saunters over and just drops this axe into his shoulder.
Beast hit.
Still
That's
standing?
you? Still
No,
standing.
I still got one action left.
Okay, but he immediately goes, "Ah! Mercy! Mercy!" and starts to hunker down.
No, he's gonna swing again.
I'm like, I get the feeling that he really wants us to talk to this guy.
That is a 17 to hit.
17 hits.
That is 10 points of slashing damage.
Him very dead.
So
Oh,
so
man.
this creature's down like on its knees with an axe buried in his shoulder. Looks up at Samal, asks for mercy, and he does. He thinks about it for a second, and then he pulls the axe out and just hits the same place and scores him right down to the heart.
Ooh, boy.
And he just like crumples down and just starts gurgling. He's mushroom. And he says, tries to say a couple words before his life goes out.
I heard Cardiff mushrooms.
You kind of caught them. It was I could have, and then he said mushroom.
Tulak's eyes dart from Samal just destroying this guy over to the other Mitflit, and he casts telekinetic projectile. And telekinetic, I said it again. Oh god, telekinetic. I'm just gonna say telekinetic. No, I'm not. I sound like an idiot.
No.
Telekinetic projectile.
Learn to read. God.
It's not reading, it's speaking that's the issue. Telekinetic projectile, and just brings a timber down on top of the other Mitflit there. At least I say Mitflit.
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons to you, Scott.
It's 15 to hit.
15 on the Mitflit. You cruel bastard. That's a meat to beat.
6 points of damage.
Him dead too. Oh my god. Fuck, that was funny. And we are out of combat.
Yes.
That was potentially very dangerous, but you guys sort of rocked that. That was awesome.
I was extremely horrified there. I was like, we gotta get the fuck out of here, but
yeah. I can't believe I got the rend off. That was great.
Yeah, once Samal was like, "Oh, I'll be right behind you," I was like, "Oh, he's not going to be right behind us if we take off."
That was my thought.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have a lot in my notes for that situation that we didn't use.
So Tulak turns to his compatriots and says, I must apologize to you too. I did not mean to start that. I thought that maybe I could block his mind and we could avoid the situation, but I misread myself and my powers. I do apologize, and I'm so sorry, Samal, for putting you in such danger. Are you okay?
So you look over, and Samal is like packing this giant rend across his abdomen. He's like pushing it in, like tying his shirt off down it, like using his hide armor to try and keep the wound closed. And he just makes eye contact with you, spits blood, and kind of goes back to what he's doing before muttering, "I'm still alive, at least for right now, but this is gonna be the end for me for today."
Tulak nods his head.
Yeah, and Physics just in the corner, like, looking absolutely shell-shocked at this whole situation. He's, like, absolutely powerless because he can't really heal anybody, and he can't really administer anything right now.
Yeah. I mean, fair deuce. That was a hell of a situation.
Tulak would like to make a perception check on what these, like... I mean, I know he hit it over, but what's going on with the sand here?
Yeah, he scraped it all aside, so it's pretty much all gone. But go ahead and roll me an open perception check real quick.
13.
You feel like a couple of things didn't quite get pushed over. Roll me a society.
17.
There's a couple bits and pieces of it that appear as though they might represent some of the layout of Otari.
Could I take a check because I have the Otari city lore?
Sure. Yeah. You have Otari lore? Yeah, do it.
That's a 25.
Ooh, yeah. Big one. It kind of, you see the same spots. Say Schluck points them out and you go, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. And then you think to yourself, why would it be here in this, why would he be doing that in the sand? Like, why is there even sand in here? They had to go out of their way to do that. And it strikes you that maybe this was a map to plan some sort of attack or invasion. And Boss Skron was surprised when you walked in, but not surprised you were there. And he anticipated, you think back, he seemed to have anticipated that someone would come but he seemed surprised you came already. So he had something going on, but you don't know now.
Tulok continues on and searches Boss Skron's body.
Go for it. You should be able to loot.
While Tulok does that, Samal is going to take the darts and the short sword from this fallen Mifflet and just like shove them into Physics' hands.
Okay.
Just so you have something that doesn't have the reload property and a melee weapon.
Yeah.
So, searching Boss Skron, Tulok finds a blowgun, a trident, a mud and bug crown, blowgun darts, and poison blowgun darts.
I think you probably need a ranged weapon there, Sage. Take that blowgun.
Yeah, I could, or does Physic want that? Because I only have, I have cantrips all the time. Up to 60 feet, so I'm alright for the time being if you would prefer to have the blowgun.
The blowgun does non-lethal 1 piercing damage. That's it. But if you have the poison dart, it's got spear frog poison on those darts. And so you might have to acquire more poison or whatever if you want to make it more effective. But the spear frog poison is where it comes in. It causes them to do a fortitude save and then possibly take poison damage each round and or enfeeble them, which is what Physics saved from.
I'll actually take the blowgun and the darts if Physic doesn't want it, because it doesn't have the reload trait, so I can just slide that into my bandolier and just bam, 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 fire them off.
Yeah.
As long as you have a free hand, yeah.
I'll stick with the darts. Yeah.
I would like to inspect the mud and bug crown. Is it, or at least just, I'd like to cast Detect Magic to see if any of this is magic.
No magic at all. It is literally just made. It is made and crafted and dried of mud, and there are just like dead bugs in it. That's it. It's of no value.
Okay, I'm gonna put the... Does anyone want the trident? It's a throwing weapon. I'm just gonna toss...
I mean, I'll carry it, and we can sell it in town.
Yeah.
That's fine.
A throwaway thrown weapon, small, wouldn't hurt. You know, just toss it.
No, it definitely
not
wouldn't.
care. No,
But I mean, he'll carry it for now and see how that goes.
I can't help but think it would be a little unwieldy for me being taller than me.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Boss Skron was a bit bigger than you. Yeah.
Well, the trident says it's 4 feet long, so.
Oh, does it? Okay. Hilarious.
Tulok takes the mud and bug crown and just says, Physic, this looks like something you might enjoy. And holds it out to him.
Racist.
Oh, come on, man. He collects weird shit.
Oh god, I had a mouthful of beer. I was spit took all
take.
over my fucking screen.
Ruin your microphone on that one joke.
Yeah.
The thing is, he probably would like it. So
See now.
He loves found treasure. Yeah. If anything, that's just Tulok being, observant. Tulok, actually, Scott, tell
Yes.
me why Tulok did that. Genuinely, why do you think he offered it?
Because he sees all of the stuff that's like hanging off him, all the found treasures or whatever. But I know like Duncan did make a point to say that they're not like good found treasures. It's just a bunch of like shit kind of cobbled together. So I think that he just
Duncan,
saw it and was just like,
does Physic accept?
yeah, no, that's spot on. He thinks it's dandy. He's like a kid in a Burger King right now.
Scoot gets another 0 point.
you
Nice.
Nailed it.
He also feels bad, just so to throw that out there as well, because like I think at this point, I mean, it might be a little metagamey, but I think that he can see that the guy was trying to talk to him. He sees that he's ruined all, like, because all the plans got knocked over. Like basically at this point, like they're not getting any information from this guy, and I think he's a little bummed that his actions without thinking really led to this.
I think this is a really great metagaming moment because it wasn't simply because you stepped in the room. It was the first thing you said is like he steps in and casts Daze.
Yes.
And as soon as you said that, it was like, okay, you're stepping in and readying to cast a spell that may or may not have a somatic component or whatever that is. I don't know, or material. I don't know what you have for that.
Verbal and somatic.
Verbal and somatic. So you're emotioning. You're literally emotioning, and your lips start to move. Like he's going to read that. If you had stepped in hands raised and tried to go in peacefully, that it would have been a totally different scenario, right? But you went in ready to go and didn't even get it off in the time you had hoped, because he read you and was ready. So it's a great moment to realize, kind of metagame and go, Tulok has realized the mistake he's made here. The order of operations went against him.
He's learned a lot about ingress strategies.
Yes, indeed.
All right, well, what do you guys do now?
Duncan, you got to grab that, by the way, out of the loot of Skron.
Okay. And it's just there's nothing to it. It's just a mud and bug crown.
That's it. Yep.
Okay, well, he's gonna walk around proud as a peacock in shit.
I'm not sure that's how the phrase goes, but I love it.
It's fitting to the moment.
All right, well, I was going to say that took at least another 5 minutes in total. No, we'll say 10, considering the bridge incident. And you guys are going to...
Quick search of the room before we leave?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Searching around the room, and you actually don't find much of anything. It's a lot of rubble and destroyed bits and weird piles of mud kind of tucked to one side, and that's pretty much it.
All right, Tulok sees Samal kind of walking out of the room, so he picks up his pace to follow.
Oh yeah, Samal's gonna make his way to the front door because he saw a little bit of glimmering from that lizard man's body, and he knows that he's gonna need some healing. So if he can find some gold pieces down there, he's certainly gonna try.
Oh, so you guys want to loop around to the pond?
Samal is, yeah. I don't know if he's gonna recommend it for them, but he's kind of bleeding all over the place. Like you can easily follow his blood trail.
Yeah, they're just hurriedly walking behind.
Yeah. So you loop around past the sinkhole into the sort of L-shaped area and towards where the bridge collapsed, and you could pretty easily lower yourself down onto the northern bank and skirt across. It's all very difficult, touchy terrain. I want you to roll me a reflex save, Samal.
Okay, I can do that. That is a modified 20.
Okay, so you managed to skirt along the edge without touching the water and disturbing it. And you get to the northern bank and probably eyeing the water out of the corner of your eye, and you don't see anything. Very still water.
Right. He's going to move over. Is the lizard man body in this square?
It is right here.
Okay. So he will, as daintily as he possibly can, which is not very, gesturing to the guys on the in the doorway to kind of stay there. He's going to very quietly try and move over to this lizard man body without disturbing this frog, because he really doesn't want to mess with that shit.
And it becomes quite clear once you get there that this decaying body was once a kobold. And it's a quick search to find 4 gold pieces and a spike snare.
Okay. So he'll take 2 of the gold pieces and then divvy up the other 2 between you two guys. And I don't know anything about spike snares. Could I roll something on that, or would Samal just know?
Yeah, roll me a crafting check.
Okay. Crafting, that's one of his good skills. That is a 17.
Yeah, so it's a pretty basic common snare. Pretty typical of kobolds to use traps and snares and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head if you have the know-how to use it or set it up. I think you do.
I think he does.
I think using a snare kit to set one up from scratch and or build one, that I know for a fact actually that requires a feat called snare crafting. But this one seems to be ready to go.
So it'd probably be a survival check, if anything.
So, I mean, it consists of spikes that rely on a creature's momentum to lacerate or potentially impale it as it enters the snare's square. So it'll deal 2d8 piercing damage, but there is a basic reflex save for half damage as well.
Okay, so he'll take the snare. I mean, he'll take all of it, but he'll leave a gold piece for each of the other guys. And then he'll show the snare to the other two. And then give them each a gold piece. This was that lizard man's body. Had a little bit of gold on him, and this, it's a snare, I think, by the look of it. Either you have any skill with it?
No skills for me, Samal. And he actually takes the gold coin and hands it back to you. He says, I think you'll need this more than me when we get back to town. We will need some proper healing.
My stole does a little bit better than yours, so I think you should probably take it. I mean, he'll take it if you don't want it, but, like, mechanically, I'm not, like, I'm sitting on 11 gold pieces.
Well, you said it, so he just closes his hand on it and puts it back in his pocket, but looks kind of hurt.
And you know he's being kind of like he's like that's about as jokey as he gets, and you know, having a stall next to him for a year, even though you don't know him, you would know that that's kind of his demeanor. Like, he doesn't quite shoot you a wink, but he gives you like a little bit of a smile.
I think Physic would look at the snare if you're offering it out and think it's just kind of neat and want to take a look at it and mess around with it. It's something I could probably use anyways, but just
you can absolutely
give a little like kind of noise.
Yeah, Small was just gonna set it up on like where the wall is broken down where we came in when they go back to Atari, see if they catch anybody moving in and out of here. But if Physic wants it, he can absolutely have it.
Or we could put it above where that one was trying to crawl back into.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna need to go back to Atari and get some like proper healing, like take some proper bed rest. I'm down to 6 HP.
Yep. Yeah, I think cool. We had a pretty big morning.
So should we head back then?
I think we need to talk to somebody at the very least, get this looked at. See if Arthur's in town, or maybe one of the other clerics.
What direction you want to head back out here? So you're at the north end of the collapsed bridge here. What's the route you're taking to get back onto the Gaunt Trail?
Can we affix a rope here in hopes that it might still be there when we come back?
Yeah, but if you want to just like a rope to just like lower down, sure.
Well, I was thinking like if like earlier we jumped across the river.
Yeah, but this is a much wider part. You could still try, but you don't have the running start per se, and you have a drop off.
Okay,
I'm only asking just to see what you got, but yeah, you can just loop back the route you took without having to roll anything. I'm just asking what you want to do, or if you want to cross here.
That sounds a little less precarious.
Yeah, I'm going safe bet right now if we can.
I'll try and toss a rope here, I guess, and see just see if it happens.
What are you trying to do with the rope? You tossing it?
Just try and hook it onto the inside of this wall.
Oh, you've got a grappling hook.
Yeah. So he's going to attach the grappling hook to the rope and just try and make it like into the original outbuildings corner, so he can create like kind of not a rope bridge, but just like a rope that they can climb across from the entrance here, so that way they don't have to keep hopping the river and walking all the way around.
All right, so you toss it across and you get it onto the ledge.
All right, he is just going to lean on it with all of his weight then to make sure it sticks.
And it slides right off. Didn't catch anything.
Perhaps it's not as sound as I thought. He says as he starts winding up his rope and detaching the hook.
Perhaps we take the long road then.
So you loop back around through the L-shaped hall, out the side of the broken building, across the narrow part of the stream, looping around the stone outbuilding, probably reflecting on the harrowing experience that just happened to you above, and hit the Gaunt Trail back to Otari.
Small's extra quiet on the way back because he feels like a failure. his whole thing, the whole reason he's here is to protect you guys, and he's now walking back to Otari with a gash almost half clear through his abdomen, like having, you're still alive, but having outwardly failed in that task.
I think Physic's feeling pretty much the same way because he was supposed to be healing the guy protecting him, and he's now walking back with a giant gash through him. So it's kind of just like, I mean, they really just met each other for the first time proper, more than just a passing familiarity. So it's kind of like every now and then glancing up at the guy that's bleeding all over the place, with feeling pretty helpless on the walk back.
All right, well, Tulak will jump in the pity party too, because he feels bad on the fact that, like, he kind of initiated, the violence in the situation that put Samal in this place. And it's probably, like, the most, death happens every once in a while, like, especially in these days, probably, and I'm sure he's seen some shit, but, like...
Oh, he has, yeah.
He's feeling... Or, sorry, I'm saying, like, Tulak has seen a little bit of shit, but nothing like that. And so he's feeling pretty responsible, I guess, is where I'm going with it.
Gotcha. And to be clear to you guys, that Samal doesn't blame either of you. Like, this is what he's here for. Like,
yeah.
This is why Rin tapped him, is Physics' desire to explore, and then Tulak's, like, magical ability. Like, he, in his mind, is the odd man out. Like, he's the one who's not cut out for the situation in his head. He can swing an axe and hold a shield, and that's really, in his mind, all he's got at this point, because he's retired. He's old. He's not as young as he used to be, clearly.
Right.
I'm thinking everyone thinks they're a fish out of water at this one.
And I mean, like, he quietly respects the shit out of you guys, is what I'm saying, is because you're both much more qualified to be in the situation than he feels he is.
Well, it's a regular odd couple situation, but like a couple of odd couples, an odd threes company.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm loving the dynamic that no one really feels. You guys aren't playing characters you're comfortable with, but all your characters are uncomfortable being there, and they're all kind of like nodding with respect at each other, but all feeling like they're not supposed to be there and are capable. And they're all they've really got is each other's reassurance if they get it, and then Rin's confidence in them,
And at this point, I mean, they've stacked some bodies, but, like, it's not like they found anything out, except for maybe a potential attack on Otari, but that's, like, loose proof, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe the real will save is the friends we made along the way.
Womp womp.
So when they get back to Atari, Samal would know who to go to for healing. I think it's Vandy, but I don't know for sure. Is there somebody else better?
For healing.
Yeah,
you can go to you could definitely go to Vandy for something if you want. However, without having to, like, spend money per se, you can always, like, it's only as soon as you arrive in town, you hit 11 a.m. So
yeah,
you can sit there and I'm hand waving this because it's the start of the adventure. You're 20 minutes from town. You can sit there and just treat wounds every hour, and then have a big old rest and call it a fucking day. Like, you can do that. You have this freedom right now. Right?
No. So I know we can
Okay.
do that, but that's so me role playing Samal is he's been given a job and he wants to get it fucking done.
Okay.
So unless Physic or Tulak suggest taking the time, he's willing to pay to get his wounds healed so they can get back out there and get back to work. Because that's, the life on a ship is you're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he legitimately wants to get back to his stall.
Okay, well,
so.
I mean, may I suggest that the moment you get to town, roleplay that. Like, let them know that's what you're about to do.
Yeah, so would it be to Vandy? Was the start of that question.
Yeah, good. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. Yeah. You could go to Vandy for healing, yes. And you would know that for sure.
Okay.
She has the heal spell ready to go.
Okay, so they cross the bridge into town. And I think that's probably when Samal finally looks up to the group and is just like holds his bloody hand up to himself. He's just like, I'm gonna head down to the library and see Vandy about getting this magic back together so we can get back on the trail. If the two of you need supplies, now'd be the time. If not, it might be best to consult Rin about Mephlits and what they might be doing up there. The one, King, you mentioned mushrooms, and then he's going to just start moving forward, not kind of waiting for a response, but...
Physic's gonna be a little bit crushed by the fact that he's kind of letting the guy go to another healer, but doesn't really feel like it's his place to stop him, so he's just gonna, I think, do exactly that. So just kind of like turn around and go towards Rin's shop.
So Tulak is kind of looking at both of them walking in opposite directions, and he has literally nothing he can do about it. He can't heal, so he just kind of watches him go and just follows Physic. And he catches up to Physic, and he says, Physic, we're not going back today, are we? We should take some time. I mean, he's horribly injured.
I really don't know where we're not going back today. We're not going back today. But we need time to heal up. I need more supplies, and I need answers.
Yes, we do need to find some answers. It sure was strange in there. I didn't expect to see creatures like that. I was thinking some sort of magic, or I don't know. It's not what I expected at all.
Well, I hope Ren knows what's going on.
Yes, maybe we should go consult her. You're right. Let's head in that direction, and hopefully we can tell Samal that he can take some time and we can go back tomorrow. It all seems so much for one day.
So, Physic and Sage Tulak head off to Rin's Wonders to consult Rin, and Samal heads for healing. Is that correct?
The Dawnflower Library, yeah.
Okay. You head to the Dawnflower Library, Samal, and, it's probably about 10 minutes across town. And you enter, and it's the familiar sight. This beautiful library constructed in a Kadiran style of Serenite temples. It's got two small minarets that flank the golden dome in the center, and the building's positioned at the town's westernmost edge, atop an upraised shelf that juts out far below the cliff top. It allows it to catch the rays of the rising sun, which transform the dome into a brilliantly glowing testament to the sun goddess, at least on the days that aren't fogged or overcast. And today, very much not. It's beautiful. And you step in and immediately see a dozen acolytes of various faiths bustling about, organizing different things. There's multiple shrines to different, the more local faiths, like Caden Kalian, Erastil, Gosra, and of course the whole place is dedicated to Saren Ray. And you step in, and you turn a couple heads. Because, I mean, I'm sure you turned a couple heads along the way.
Oh, yeah. I imagine he's managed to staunch the bleeding by now, but, like...
A couple guards even like, you alright there, Samal? Oh, jeez, bud. Looked like you had to fight with a Wolverine. You alright there, bud? Sorry,
he just kind of waves them
I've
off.
just decided all guards Notari are East Coast Canadians.
That's
Alright there, bud? You doing alright? You wave them down, head to the library, and you turn a couple heads inside. And it's not long before someone runs off and finds Vandy, who then immediately comes running. Samal, are you okay? Are you okay? Oh, please come in. Oh, sit down. Don't hurt yourself, Samal. What has happened to you?
Nothing worth worrying about as long as we can get it patched up, I think, Miss...
Banderdash, as always. I can't believe you always forget that.
No, that was the end of the sentence.
No, it wasn't. Shut up. Somehow this is not the sort of thing that happens in the Otari market. This can't possibly be nothing. What has happened? There's no way someone wrecked your stall. Did you get into a scuffle with Keelino? I hope you didn't get into a scuffle with Keelino, Lathana. He's such a brute. And she's typically chit-chatty, just annoyingly so.
Yeah. He actually finds it kind of comforting, but at this point, he's like, he's ready for it to just take place. Like, it happened out of time, Miss Vanderdash. Could you see to it, if you don't mind? I feel like my insides are trying to be on the outs.
Yes, of course, Samal. Just come here. Let's come to a spot that's a little more private. And she leads you to a small side room, an alcove with a curtain, and uses her ability to heal you, casting heal on you. And
he presses 3 gold pieces into her hand.
And she refuses it. Absolutely not, Samala. This is not the sort of, yes, this is something that I offer as for a pittance. But Samal, you need to, whatever it is. I hope you know what you're doing. You need to be careful. You don't have to tell me, but I am here to help. Please, be safe.
And he just, his eyes kind of narrow a little bit at the recommendation, and then he just looks at the ground, gently caresses the head of his axe, because he hasn't dropped his shield at all. He's still like white knuckling his shield.
She probably even tried to just pull it from you before bothering to heal you, but you didn't let go.
Yeah, not happening. Then he just makes gentle eye contact before nodding. I'll be as safe as I can, Vandy. I appreciate it.
And then she shifts to chatty Vandy Bannerdash to poignant, serious, heals you without a word to your health, to your full, and just with this constant look of concern on her face. And we see Physic and Tulak approaching Rin's Wonders, the very familiar, interesting standing stone, canvassed, domed shop.
All right. As they approach, looking kind of sullen, I think, Tulak is leading the way a little bit ahead of Physic and holds the canvas door open aside for Physic to enter.
Yep, and Physic will go in and hopefully see Rin there and look at her with bewilderment, basically, in his eyes.
Loves him some Rin.
Rin, we need help.
And Rin turns, she's there, she turns around, and she's got this sort of immediate look of eagerness, but quickly spots there's only 2 of you, and it turns to worry. Stemming the Tide is an actual play podcast of the Adventure Path Abomination Vaults and is produced by the Uncharted North Network. Stemming the Tide uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Stemming the Tide is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. Music is composed by Will Savino and artwork by Greyhood. Stemming the Tide is recorded remotely using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. If you wish to connect with us or support this project and projects to come, we can be found at unchartednorth.ca, patreon.com/unchartednorth, and on all major social media platforms. Links to all credits can be found in the episode description and our website. Thanks for tuning in.